The Shure SM7B is one of the best microphones that you probably shouldn't buy. So the Shure SM7B is an amazing microphone. It gets a lot of rightful praise. It's a case of sometimes popular things are popular for a reason. It is incredibly popular in recording studios because it works really, really well for spoken word and singing. It's versatile enough where I can throw this in front of a guitar amplifier and get a really nice sound, right? It's a good microphone. And oftentimes I find myself reaching for it even though I have more expensive options in the mic locker. In a recording studio situation, we use what is going to work best for the situation, even if it is the less expensive option. And in fact, sometimes, an SM57 is the way to go. Going with a higher end mic, it's just not worth it, or it's just not going to actually sound better. So the SM57 is going to be a better choice in those situations. And that is, I think, the big strength of the SM7B. It is reasonably priced for what it is. It does have some really good competitors in its price bracket that I also think are worth it. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, should I get this one? Should I get, I think it's the RE20 or something like that, right? They're all good. You will also find some detractors who say the SM7B is not worth it. And strangely, some of them are kind of right. If you're in a situation where you have to ask, is the SM7B going to be worth it for me? It probably isn't. These are not cheap. In terms of the recording studio side of life, they're fairly inexpensive for what you get out of them. But if you're not making money at whatever you're doing, it can be a bit hard to justify this microphone. Because I've got, say, this here. This is the Behringer XM8500. Now, I chose this mic because I don't carry it, right? I sell a few mic brands. I do not carry Behringer, so I felt that this one here, being as readily available as it is, and something that I have no affiliation with, same thing, no affiliation with Shure, it'd be a good example without having any biases of, like, if I throw a CAD mic in this video, I'm a big fan of CAD. I own a bunch of them personally, but I also sell them. That might get a little weird. So I'm sticking with two brands that I don't have any affiliations with. Anyway, this microphone, as you can probably tell, sounds pretty darn good, especially for like the $20 or something like that these go for at the time of recording. Who knows what they're going for now. But at about a 20th of the price of an SM7B, you're going to find a lot of people on different forums and stuff saying, look, the SM7B, it's so overrated. You can get almost the same sound out of a $20 microphone if you EQ it right. And they're kind of right? If you know your voice, if you know your system, if you know your setup, you can make this microphone sound pretty darn close to this microphone. On top of all that, this microphone here, the SM7, I'm running 50 dB of gain to get the signal I have right now, and I'm probably still going to have to pull it up in post. Where this microphone, I think I'm running 31 decibels of gain, and it's getting a very, very similar volume output as my SM7. So if you're running a inexpensive set of preamps or preamps that happen to have just a bit more inherent noise, this $20 mic may end up sounding better on your system than this much more expensive microphone. That all being said, this microphone here, this SM7, I do find one of its biggest strengths is no matter who you put it in front of, it is going to sound good. There's a reason why almost every content creator and almost every podcast that you watch has an SM7B or something kind of in its price bracket that it's a direct competitor to, because they really do work. They are a great microphone. But if you're a Twitch streamer, if you're running a podcast where it's basically always you and stuff like that, buying a less expensive microphone, whether it's that one or a different one, especially if it's only for yourself, right? You can go and you can try out 5 or 6 different microphones and find the one that sounds the best for your voice, and that one is going to be the best option. Perfect. On top of that, if you're like a singer or songwriter, that kind of thing, something like the XM85 or its ilk in terms of a handheld microphone might be a better option, because then you can have it play double duty, right? If you have, say, live shows with speakers, they're going to be wanting more microphones like this. These work better in a live environment than this one does. But also, if I buy the perfect microphone for my voice, I have it ready to go when I get a gig and I'm off singing up a storm. So there's benefits to both. There's benefits to almost any microphone on the market. There are some microphones out there that are just complete garbage. But the vast majority of dynamic microphones on the market, they all sound pretty darn good. And it's largely because of Shure. Again, I'm not a Shure dealer, but let's face it. The SM58 and the SM57 are great microphones. You cannot have a dynamic microphone that is more expensive than an SM58 or an SM57 and have it be worse. It can be different, right? I own, I've got a Audix mic that I personally use when I do my live streams at home. That one works perfect for my voice, so I just use that one because I don't want to haul this one with me. And I never miss this one at home, especially because my preamps at home are not as good as the ones that I have here in the studio. So now the only thing I will put out there if you're deciding to go for the less expensive route, because again, this can be a good option. I do think the SM7 is worth every penny, but if you have to ask if you should buy one, you probably shouldn't. So if you're going to go for the less expensive options, don't fall into this weird trap I've been seeing lately of modifying this microphone or microphones like it to look like this microphone. I don't get it. The SM7B, yeah, it has this broadcast kind of look to it. But unless you're just trying to trick your viewers into thinking that you are using a more expensive microphone than you have, it's just kind of weird. Now, there is some potential benefits to having a different housing, right? One of the reasons the SM7B looks the way it does isn't just to make it look more broadcasty. It's because this housing does improve its qualities for those environments. But I just have a slight suspicion tearing this thing apart and wrapping it in 3D printed parts and a different mesh, you're not going to get what you're after out of it compared to something like this. The sound difference between a XM8500 wrapped in a 3D printed housing, that I just don't ever see that improving it enough to justify it, unless you're just going for the look. But at that point, just suck it up and get a higher end microphone if you want a higher end microphone. Tricking your audience into thinking you have a higher end microphone is, well, it's tricking them, and it's stupid. There's no shame in using this. You can gloat about how great your $20 microphone is and how these other fools have spent so much on their setups and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, just go that route. That to me is less dickish than, trying to trick your audience. But that's just my 2 cents. Like I said, SM7B, not that it needed any more praise. It's still a great microphone, and I do still highly recommend it. But again, there are less expensive options that can probably keep up with it just fine, especially for your situation. But it's still worth it.